Now, I know because you listen to this show, you love Chicago. In fact, you probably know your community very well. Maybe you're involved in a block club or some other neighborhood organization because you're passionate about the place you live. Well, you might be able to turn that passion into a profession, helping others find neighborhoods that they love with a career in real estate. When you earn your license with Realtors Real Estate School, you'll have access to a community of real estate professionals who can offer guidance and mentorship. Learn how you can get started this summer. Visit realtorsrealestateschool.com/begin. What's up? So if you like me, living green and reducing your food waste is probably a little hard and complicated, right? But it doesn't have to be. Not when we're using Waste Not. Waste Not is an at-home composting service, and it's pretty simple. They give you a clean bucket, you put your food, scraps, paper products, and compostables in, then they come pick it up in like a week or two later, and they give you a whole new clean bucket. So give Waste Not a try at home. Check out wastenotcompost.com. Plus, our CityCast Chicago listeners can test the service with a free month by using promo code CityCastCompost, all one word. Today on CityCast Chicago, stay hydrated as the summer heat is way up this week. Chicago public schools are back in full swing, and we've got the festivals to watch for this Labor Day weekend. Helping me break it all down is executive producer Simone Alicea. It's Tuesday, August 27th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. Good morning, Simone. How you doing?
I'm all right, Jacoby. How are you?
I'm doing well, watching you dance to the theme music in your head.
Not just the theme music, to the cadence of the speech. You understand how many times I've heard you say, I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago is talking about?
And this is what Chicago is.
It's just ingrained in my head now at this point.
How was your weekend? How you feeling coming out of, 5 days of nonstop DNC talk?
I'm feeling, I feel like I'm still recovering. GNC was a lot. It was like, the way I've been describing it to people, it's like 4 election nights in a row, except you already know what the outcome's going to be. But glad to be back at just regular old Chicago news, not the DNC Chicago news.
One of the things I kept seeing last week is people praising the weather that was here all of last week. How good it felt to be outside, how good it felt to be. And then right as the weekend was wrapping up, we found ourselves in excessive heat warning. And it not only lasted through Monday, but is in order through tonight and may go throughout the week. Simone, it's supposed to potentially hit 99 degrees today and feel like 115 degrees.
That's not okay. I disagree with that. I think it's deeply unfair that the delegates and all the visitors and all the politicians got perfect weather, and now we're stuck with this really dangerous heat, quite frankly. This is probably some of the hottest times that we are going to see this summer in Chicago, and so really important to take safety precautions and really be careful if you got to be out today.
Yeah, drink as much water as you possibly can. I got a water bottle in front of me right now. Luckily, you and I work from home, and so we are able to avoid outside. But if you have to go outside, wear light clothes if possible. Take water with you. While you're inside, maybe turn the lights off as much as you can. If you can't avoid the stove and the oven.
I just turned a lamp off on my desk that I had.
Right. I just watched the light dim from your face.
Jacoby, I'm really curious. What do you like to make when it's hot out and you don't want to use the stove or the oven?
I really like fancy. I like to make I don't want to call it a fancy sandwich, but I do like to make a sandwich with a ton of cold ingredients. And so like cold tomato, sliced cucumber, sliced peppers, I like them thinly stripped. And then, like maybe a sandwich spread. I don't heat up like my lunch meat, my cheese. I just let it be cold right out of the refrigerator. Usually I would like maybe toast the bread a little bit or like warm it up just a bit, but nope. I just let all of the ingredients sort of be cold on my teeth. It's a little bit sensitive, but a nice like not Fred Flintstone sandwich, but it's a lot on there. It's definitely like a homemade Subway for sure.
It's substantial. I got to tell you, I've been on this ceviche kick, or you just like pop over to Mariano's, grab some shrimp, cut up some tomatoes, onion, cilantro, and I like mine with avocado. Some people put cucumber in theirs. Just like put it in a bowl with a bunch of lime, let it sit in your fridge for, 45 minutes to an hour. And it's just so delightful. It's like so refreshing. It's cold. And it's way easier than I think people give it credit for.
I do got some frozen shrimp from Trader Joe's in the fridge. And I think I got most of those other ingredients. I am planning to go to the grocery store today. But again, I have to go outside to do that. But it's going to be a beeline straight there, straight back, light clothes. I'm going to take some water with me when I go out and kind of make it a quick trip.
The other thing to do, obviously, too, just to check on your neighbors, particularly elderly neighbors or folks who might be sick or pregnant, see how you can help. Remember, Chicago does have a cooling ordinance. This applies only to certain buildings, multifamily buildings, but many buildings will have some kind of requirement to at least be cooling common areas. So if that's not the case, maybe reach out to your landlord and get on that and let them know. And the city of Chicago also opening cooling centers around the city. You can find a list of that in our show notes, as well as, libraries, field houses, etc.
Say in total, there's at least 250 places you should be able to go to in the city of Chicago for some relief from the heat.
Yes, yes. And then one last thing, we all know this, but it's always, the more we can put the reminder out there, it's never a bad thing. Don't leave kids, pets, people in the car when it's hot out. Don't do it. Not with the windows down. It's too hot. Don't do it.
You know us, we've always got the next festival you got to check out, and this Labor Day weekend is Taste of Polonia Festival 2024 at the Copernicus Center in Jefferson Park. It's the biggest and oldest Polish festival in the U.S. with over 60 performers and dozens of merchants across 4 days and 4 stages. Go on and celebrate Polish culture with classic food and beer and bring the whole family. They're going to have a kids stage in the jumping zone for the little ones. You can even catch stars from Poland like DJ Berka, Krzysztof Sugowski, and Junior Stress. Taste of Polonia is August 30th through September 2nd. You can get your tickets today at topchicago.org. One thing I've learned doing this podcast is that every Chicagoan has an artist deep inside of them, even if they don't know it. Nah, I'm serious. All of us should get a chance to unleash our creative side in the greatest city in the world. And if you like, Kobe, where do I start? I got you. Art City is a gateway to the visual arts in Chicago. It's run by independent local artists, and you can either check out their classes or head over to their gallery. But maybe the best place to start, a classic paint and sip class. An expert will guide you through painting a beautiful piece of art that you get to take home, all while sipping on whatever you like to sip on. So bring a friend, bring a drink, and bring out your inner artist. Head to artcityshy.com to sign up for a paint and sip class. And while Art City's prices are already great, you can get a discount with code 5OFF. That's the number 5 off. I got the website for you again, artcityshy.com. Simone, yesterday was a big day in the city of Chicago as tens of thousands of kids returned to the classroom for the fall 2024 kickoff. Our friends over at Chalk Beat Chicago published the 5 things they're watching heading into this school year. You want to run us down what are the 5 big stories they're paying attention to?
Yeah. So one thing that we've pretty much all of these we've talked a lot about on this show in various capacities. Number one is the CPS budget and the ongoing contract negotiations. The teachers union and the school district are still negotiating over a new contract that has not sort of been finalized before the start of the school year. There's no strike, obviously. They're still working. At the moment, it doesn't seem like, a strike would be imminent. There's still a lot of negotiating happening, but it is kind of a sticky situation, right? We talked about with our friend Sarah Karp at WBEZ about the budget that was passed this summer and how that budget, number one, doesn't take into account the raises and other things that teachers would be asking for in their new contract. It also tries to plug a budget deficit that is emerging because COVID funding is running out, right? And which is leading to, cutting of, central office staff and certain support staff. So there's a lot of tension between the mayor, City Hall, the district currently led by CPS CEO Pedro Martinez, and the teachers union, all kind of mixing together in a bowl as the school year starts.
That currently has more weight today than it did at the end of last school year when we were trying to forecast what is this summer going to look like, because now it's emerging that potentially those tensions could lead to maybe some more change at the top as CEO Pedro Martinez, maybe fighting for his job right now.
Yeah, there were some reports that came out that Johnson is considering a leadership change there. Again, all that still remains to be seen. I think it's always tough when you don't have a big labor contract signed, sealed, and ready before the school year actually starts. I think that always just kind of leaves you with a little bit of tension going into the school year, but we will see what happens.
Yeah. Another big thing going into this school year, and we covered it last year as well, is the impact that seeing thousands of new migrant students in CPS schools, the impact that that's having, particularly around the shortage of staff members who are bilingual.
Yeah, I mean, this is so interesting because for so many years, CPS has been a school district with declining enrollment, right? And partly that has to do with people moving out of the city into the suburbs and out of Illinois altogether. Partly that has to do with more people choosing to put their kids in schools that are not CPS schools and private schools. And now, as we have talked about many times on the show with the population of new arrivals of asylum seekers and migrants, largely from Venezuela, other countries in South America, there has now been an influx of new students, which has led to district growth for the first time in a long time. There was growth last year. We are expecting to see sort of another kind of growth in that population, which is sort of a good thing on its face, right? When you have a growing school district, that can mean more money, the school district runs more efficiently, right? You want people to be in the school district. But this population obviously also comes with a lot of needs, right? Number one, there's the language issue, right? Like if you can't even communicate, do you have bilingual programs? We have talked to a lot of education reporters who have told us about sort of what kinds of bilingual services are available really varies from school to school. And, teachers have reported having to straight up just use Google Translate to kind of get through the day. So you have that element. Obviously this population also is pretty housing insecure, right?
I was going to say,
we have talked about the shelter situation, and, we now have had shelter evictions, and we know the process to get into permanent housing takes a really long time. And the process, get it for your parents to get work can also be really difficult, right? And so the schools were already serving as a safety net for kids who are struggling with housing and instability at home anyway, right? That's why we have free meal programs, et cetera, and things like that. But now you have even, your population is growing with even more of these kids who need those things, and they need them in a language that maybe is not the language that we're primarily speaking. And so it just sort of compounds those issues even more.
I was going to say, when people ask, why does the union think that they should be having a voice in housing issues in our city? Why does the teachers union think they should have a voice in these other political areas? Because we already know what it means for a student to be how it impacts their ability to move through school, to pay attention, to stay awake, to be alert, to be successful in school, how their home life impacts that. But it's even more urgent with, the 9,000 students in CPS who are migrants who right now have very little stability in their home life.
Right. These things are all related, right? Because, as I said, part of the budget issue stems from the fact that CPS has had declining enrollment. Now enrollment is growing a little bit, but you have this high needs population that requires more services, that costs more money. The schools have to kind of be the place to provide to them. They have an obligation to educate these children, right? The public schools has to welcome them. The teachers need support to be able to do that. And so they are asking for more money. The district says, we don't have any more money. Somebody's got to do something.
Those three things alone, CPS's pending budget crisis, current contract negotiations, and the growing number of high needs students, that would be enough to take our attention. But we also have the first ever school board elections coming up in November. We have students who now are years into transportation concerns and transportation issues. First day of school, unfortunately, we saw did not go off smooth for a lot of students who are still waiting on bus routes, who had delays in their bus routes. We're going to have our friend Samantha Smiley on the show this Friday to help us make sense of all of these intersecting stories. Simone, what are you going to be watching just in this first month?
I am, I think, really interested in the school board elections, to be really honest, right? This is Chicago's first elected school board. As a reminder, this year we will elect half of the 21-person board. We elect 10. The mayor will appoint 11. And then in 2 years, we will fully elect the 21-person school board. To me, it's so interesting because, we just got off of the DNC where we're talking about the 2024 election and the presidential race. These school board races are the races that we are going to be watching here in Chicago and here on CityCast, because not only is this the first time that we've had them, the school board is often a point of entry into the political system. And also, what on earth will this new elected school board, who will they be beholden to, right? And what, if any, kind of tension, pushback, conflict will there be with the mayor's appointed members?
He's shown his hand already in the announcement of their strategic plan and how they want to move away from school choice and broadening out investment across the district, reprioritizing neighborhood schools. That is all well and good. And as they said, a 5 and 10 year plan, but you may not have the people to carry out that agenda as soon as inauguration in January 2025.
Exactly. Right now, Johnson, and for the past couple of years, Johnson has made some big moves in education and has really exercised his agenda. So I think between now and early November, I am just going to be really curious to see how candidates are positioning themselves, how voters are responding. Are people even really kind of registering that this is a change and kind of what their voice can be and what they want in a school board? That's the kind of stuff that I am really curious to learn more about.
With school starting in the midst of this excessive heat warning, we are aware that not every CPS school has the same cooling systems. Some don't have them in their hallways, others share spaces. CPS says they are working to fix any cooling systems that are broken. They've canceled outdoor sports games both yesterday and today, said that PE and recess will be held indoors wherever possible. Again, this Friday, our friend Samantha Smiley from Chalk Beach, Chicago is going to be on to help us break down some of the stories she's watching this school year. Every Tuesday this summer, thanks to our sponsors, Revolution Brewing, we have been the place to be for festival updates. And with Labor Day weekend upon us, this is another huge weekend in Chicago. And Simone, we were talking about this earlier. It feels like coming out of the DNC where so much of the week was spent with people talking and trying to see the city through the eyes of visitors. Feels like a few of the parades and festivals we have this week really get at the heart of, celebrating Chicago's diversity, Chicago's cultural history. The Chicago Labor Day Parade and Eddie Fest is this Saturday out in Pullman, with the theme talking about Chicago being the hometown of America's labor movement. which again, if you've been on any Chicago tour, it comes up quite often. It's such an important part of our story.
Especially if you're down in Pullman.
Yes, it comes up so much in our story. In fact, this past weekend was the 99th anniversary of the Brotherhood of the Sleeping Car Porters, which was founded by A. Philip Randolph and is the first predominantly black labor union in the country's history, and was the unionizing efforts of the Pullman porters and their fight back against dehumanization, discrimination. And they, again, were largely the workforce of the Pullman company during that time, and the luxury Pullman train cars that we've spoken about on the program before. So it's an opportunity to get down to Pullman. And the Eddie Fest, which is going to have great food and music, is going to take place right after the parade.
We've also got coming up this weekend the Chicago Jazz Festival, which is, number one, just a Chicago tradition, right? We look forward to the Jazz Festival in Millennium Park and at the Cultural Center every year. But of course, Chicago, I think anytime a music festival can both capture the history of the city, Chicago, of course, home to so many great jazz venues, jazz artists, a history in jazz recording, obviously in the early part of the 20th century, while also kind of highlighting what is new and modern. I just think that is so part of what Chicago is. We've also got a couple like neighborhood fests, Taste of Polonia, another CityCast Chicago sponsor, in Jefferson Park. One of the a really huge Polish Heritage Festival out at the Copernicus Center in Jefferson Park. And then West Loop Art Fest also happening this weekend out in Fulton Market. So a chance to see some great local artists.
Also this weekend, we've got North Coast and Arc Music Festival, which together are house, techno, electronic music, but there are differences. You and I were wondering, how do people choose between these seemingly, again, for us, the untrained eye, these two electronic music festivals. But as Chicago Reddit would teach us, there are some differences here.
Yeah, you and I are not like deep into the electronic music scene. And so I thought it was curious that Chicago were to have two electronic music festivals on the same weekend. How does anyone choose? From what Chicago Reddit tells us, the North Coast Festival that is happening starting August 30th through September 1st at SeatGeek Stadium in Bridgeview, that is the more true EDM style. I think one person put it as North Coast is for young kids, and Arc is maybe for the more mature among us. Arc Music Fest.
For the house heads.
Yeah, more house, more techno. That's going to be in Union Park. House music, of course, also has its Chicago roots. So that's another one that you can Chicago can claim over here. North Coast, maybe a little more the rave scene. Arc Music, a little more club scene. So if you were trying to decide which one you wanted to go to, that is the best advice I can offer you as someone who...
That's what we were able to find.
That's what we were able to find. If any electronic music fans want to call us out or tell us one way or the other, please let us know. You can text us 773-780-0246.
Leave us a voice memo. What's the breakdown? Because again, we ain't know. So we just went to Chicago Reddit and took what they had. If you're looking for something maybe a little smaller, one-day fest, you've got Pravda Fest out at Fitzgerald's in Berwyn, which is the celebration of one of Chicago's oldest indie rock music labels. That's taking place on Saturday. And then you got Jollof Fest this Saturday at the Promontory in Hyde Park. I'm probably going to pull up on the Jazz Festival at some point, the Cultural Center, Millennium Park, if it's not too hot this maybe like Saturday.
Yeah, and the weather is supposed to kind of cool down. We also could see some thunderstorms later in the week, so that might ruin any of your Friday plans. With Chicago, you never really know until you know what the weather is going to be like.
Go out to dinner Friday night. Write that down in my calendar. Don't go outside, but go inside somewhere.
See, that's why we listen to the show, Jacoby. So we know which thing we're gonna do. Yeah, I could get myself out to West Loop potentially for some more art. And Taste of Polonia. I could use some pierogi, man. I love it. I love a pierogi. It's just any kind, whatever filling. I don't care. I want one.
For more events, head over to chicago.citycast.fm, where we've got a great running events calendar for you, and subscribe to our daily newsletter, Hey Chicago, which is being written also by our executive producer, Simone Alisea. I want to give a huge shout out to Simone. Thank you for being here, Simone. I know you're running double duty today.
Oh, hey, thanks, Jacoby.
Before we get up out of here, of course, I got some good news. The National Museum of Mexican Art is continuing their monthly workshop series, Viva la Vida, this Thursday for Chicagoans age 55 and up. They're invited to join this month's bookbinding class. It's free, but requires registration, so check the link in our show notes. As always, we appreciate you for listening and reading. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. Join us. Peace.